Hello everyone, my name's Chrissie Kelley, currently Head of Species Management at Pensthorpe Conservation Trust in North Norfolk, and I lead the avicultural aspect of the Curlew recovery project in the east of England. I have responsibility for egg incubation, hatching and rearing of chicks through to release. So I'm introducing this joint presentation with Katharine from the British Trust for Ornithology to give a brief overview of the Headstarting project in Norfolk. So the Curlew Recovery Project is one of 7 that have been running in England. It's funded by Natural England and in partnership with the Royal Air Force, British Trust for Ornithology, Pensthorpe Conservation Trust, Wild Ken Hill and Sandringham Estate. Eggs are sourced for the project from MOD air bases in the region. In this area of England, airfields, particularly military airfields, provide ideal curlew breeding habitat in a largely arable landscape. So the presence of curlews are a danger to flight safety, and so historically eggs were destroyed under licence for flight safety reasons. So Headstarting here presents a really viable alternative to egg destruction. The project's been running for 4 years now, and since 2021 we've released 208 juvenile curlews at 2 different sites, from 312 eggs collected from air bases over the 4 years. Many more eggs have been collected for other projects, so these figures are just for the east of England. Nine of the 16 air bases that support Headstarting have supplied eggs for Norfolk, and they're starred here on the map. Right up from Topcliffe and Leeming in Yorkshire, down to Lakenheath and Mildenhall in Thetford area. For our project, Graham Irvine from Natural England liaises with the air bases and collects clutches of eggs found, transporting them carefully in a portable incubator to the rearing centre. Eggs delivered to the rearing centre are carefully monitored in artificial incubators, and after hatch, chicks are spent the first 5 or 6 days in brooders in groups of up to 4 chicks. They're given ID rings at this stage, so we have records of every chick hatched and which airbase they came from. The outdoor rearing facilities are a permanent fixture for this project, which have been located at Pensthorpe Conservation Trust for the past 4 years. They consist of 2 netted polytunnels where chicks are reared from 5 to 30 days, and then 3 flight pens where they're moved to just before fledging after receiving a BTO leg ring and leg identification flag. So 2024 was actually the final year of Pensthorpe's involvement in the project, but I'm really pleased to say we have a new rearing site on the Norfolk coast. And I'd like to give big thanks to Marsh Farm and the newly formed Deepdale Conservation Trust, who'll hopefully take this project forward into the future. So I'm going to hand over to Katharine now to talk more about the project once the birds have been reared and transferred to the release sites, which is at around 45 to 55 days old. So over to you, Katharine. Thanks very much.
Hello, as Chrissie said, I'm Katharine Bowgen and I'm a Senior Research Ecologist at the BTO in their Wetland and Marine and Cymru teams. As part of this project, I and my colleague Sam Franks have been leading on monitoring of the head-started curlew that have been released in the east of England, following Chrissie and her colleagues' work in rearing them through to fledgling age. As for I imagine most projects, we visit each cohort of chicks once they've reached a good size, around 30 days of age, and we put on a unique metal ring and a unique flag and colouring combination so that each bird can be identified in the field. We share this yellow flag with other head-starting groups in England, and our scheme marker is a single orange ring which sits below the flag, identifying our birds as being from the East of England Head-Started Curlew project. At this point, we also take a range of biometrics to help understand their growth rates and their health, And alongside the aviculture and veterinary teams, we check for good feather growth rate to see they are fit for release. Our release sites are in the east of England, and they're based in 2 locations in Norfolk: Wild Ken Hill, which is in a field near the coast, and an inland area belonging to the Sandringham estate. I'll show you a couple of photographs of these now so you get a bit of a view of what they're like. Our sites represent 2 different types of habitats. One which is a wetland grassland site near the coast. This is from Wild Ken Hill, and you can see from the picture there's quite a large area of water nearby. And our second site inland at Sandringham is a drier site, but both sites have the same release pens that match the final pen shape that they lived in at the agricultural sites at Pensthorpe and will be at Deepdale, and they provide us with a wide range of habitats that are suitable for curlew. When the curlew are close to 50 days of age, we split them into cohorts between the 2 release sites, and on the day of moving, identify up to 2 individuals per release site to carry a tracking device. So we try and get up to 4 per cohort of release age. We currently use Ornatella GSM satellite tags with a Silastic leg loop harness, and these have been working really well, as you'll see in the next few slides. But I should say we did also initially use radio tags as well. These were great for finding birds in the field during the initial years and observing their behaviours and checking that they were as close to those of wild birds as we expected. But after this was confirmed, the GPS tags are actually more efficient in providing long-term monitoring, and so we've stopped using radio tags for the moment. Here's a tag bird ready to be placed into one of our release pens. As you can see, the tag sits quite nicely on the lower back, and it's got its colouring and colour flag on, so it's all ready to be put into the pen, and it will be released in a week's time following a acclimatisation period. To give you a little taste of some of the tracking data we've gained, here is a nice animation my colleague Sam put together showing the movements of all the GPS tag birds from the first release in mid-July to the 1st of September in 2022. Whilst watching, you might notice one purple bird shoot off to the edge of the screen, and you might be wondering what happened to that one, and my next slide will show you where it went. But hopefully you can see sort of the range of movements as each of the cohorts is released, that sort of often the ones from inland soon reach the coast, whereas the ones that were released near the coast are soon on the eastern side of the wash, with a few moving around the area. And that purple bird? He went to Ireland. He initially followed the coast, but after running out of land, he quickly made a U-turn and returned back to the land where he stayed until his tag fell off. But he was happily also spotted by some of our colleagues who were working in that area looking at winter curlew. Just have a watch of his track as he goes round. While most of our tagged birds have remained in the UK, we did have one bird who decided they preferred France. 9L quite happily enjoyed the coast of Brittany for a good while before returning in 2024, and I'm happy to say actually is one of our first birds known to be attempting breeding. We've only got the track here of going to Brittany, but just to show the range of spaces and areas that our birds were using. I would like to highlight that whilst GPS tagging is great, we've had great response to our calls to bird watchers to look out for our flagged individuals, as only a small number of our birds actually had GPS tags. And we've had many good resightings coming in, particularly over the last few years. Now our numbers have got up quite high, and we're gaining a great idea of the long distances some of them have travelled, and also their survival over the past sort of 4 years and the areas that they're returning to around the Wash and across the UK and England as a whole. Importantly, as well as tracking birds after release, we have set up surveys across the areas near the release site over the past couple of springs to identify returning birds who may be starting to breed. Whilst 2023 found some birds, none were showing obvious signs of breeding. but happily in 2024, a colleague on a related curlew project in Norfolk spotted and found 2 nests belonging to 3 of our head-started curlew. 2 were paired up together. This was great news, and though sadly neither nest was successful, we were really pleased to see them. But also there were 12 other birds at known breeding sites across Norfolk, giving us a hope that the birds might be thinking about breeding there as well. All these curlew were known to be either breeding or showing signs of breeding, and they come from our earliest release birds. As you might see here, we've split it up between early release and later release. And we're hoping that more surveys later on in this coming spring, 2025, will add to our returning numbers and hopefully see some breeding attempts again. That's pretty much the end of our talk, but in a short summary for a future of the project, currently our headstarting is ongoing, and we're hoping that we will see more birds returning so we can perform good assessments of recruitment in the east of England. We do, however, acknowledge that headstarting is just one tool, and it needs to be used alongside good conservation management where we are releasing the birds so that we can see our end goal of breeding populations of curlew that can be sustained with cost-effective actions. Many thanks for listening to our short update. There are many people to thank both for funding, support and work in the field, and we hope to be able to tell you more about our birds in the coming years.